Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hey.
Welcome to this week's Next Level Love Story with the amazing Christopher and Shelly
Mm-hmm.
Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to get into your story. But before we do, of course, we want to introduce you
Yeah,
to
formally.
anybody who's listening, to all of our audience. So, guys, Christopher and Shelly are amazing. We know these guys personally. We've been
Mm-hmm.
around their energy.
Yeah.
They are better than even this bio describes, but I'm gonna read the bio anyways.
Yeah.
Um, Chris and Shelly are a dynamic husband and wife team with over 35 years of marriage. They're dedicated to empowering individuals and couples through their work at Lionheart Transformative Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
They are college sweethearts and lifelong students of mindset and transformation who seamlessly blend their unique expertise to guide others toward living lives of sovereignty, wholeness, and fulfillment. Christopher is a highly sought after expert, and that's very true,
Yes.
in personal and professional transformation, renowned for seamlessly integrating cutting edge psychology, neuroscience, hypnotherapy, NLP, ethnogenic practices, and his unique approach to practical spirituality. His journey from a challenging upbringing and a distinguished career in military and aerospace engineering to a profound spiritual awakening has shaped his holistic approach to helping high achieving professionals unlock their full potential. Didn't I tell you? These guys are amazing. Shelly is a certified transformative mindset facilitator
Mm-hmm.
and a passionate advocate for women's empowerment. Her personal journey as a survivor of rape and religious abuse has fueled her mission to help women break free from limiting beliefs and heal the mind body spirit connection. She believes in the power of nurturing feminine energy to achieve authentic, expansive living. Together, Christopher and Shelly bring a wealth of experience and wisdom to their coaching practice, offering innovative frameworks like the Lionheart Sovereign Ascension Blueprint. Their work is grounded in first principles and natural laws, providing actionable strategies for rapid and sustainable transformation. When they're not busy facilitating all of these
Right.
transformative experiences, right? They're
Exactly.
also get to be people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
enjoy traveling and being outdoor, having adventures. They are
Mm-hmm.
proud parents of 2 adult sons, a grandson, and their beloved miniature dachshund, Cooper, who you might hear on our call today. They're
My
united by a shared passion for growth and contribution. They are committed to helping others reclaim their power, align with their highest potential, and create lives of greater impact, love, and peace. Oh my gosh. Uh, that
Welcome.
is just, I feel like just even touches the surface of all that the two of you have to offer in
Mm-hmm.
who you are and what you bring to this world. It is an honor and a privilege to know you and be connected to you. And we want to celebrate and hear all about your next level love.
Yeah. What makes you love next level?
So let's dive
Yeah.
in.
Wow. So thank you for the introduction. Thanks for having
Thank
us. It
you.
kind of feels like, that first really big job you applied for, when you wrote this amazing resume and then you get the interview, you show up for the interview, you're like, oh shit, I gotta measure up to all of that. Oh my goodness. And
Oh,
so
but
You lived it.
remember you right, you've lived this, you're doing it, you
Yeah.
already are. There's no
Damn,
measuring
I'm
up.
impressive.
Like own it.
uh,
Like you're already
Yeah.
there. You
I
are
want to
already these people.
Yeah,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
would you just record that introduction so that we can just listen to it like
It,
every morning when we wake up
Yeah, it's
and
recorded.
before we go to bed?
it's all
Um,
yours.
yeah,
Remember who you are, my friends.
and I have to start with what a really critical, important piece of information, in all transparency, that was not in that bio, is the fact that it hasn't always been that way, right?
Mhm.
In other words, none of that before I defaulted to the most primal uh, mechanisms for survival, pain avoidance, and pleasure seeking. Right.
Mm.
So my journey's been transformational, individually overcoming childhood trauma, abuse, addictions, the loss of my brother Michael to suicide, and and then the the most amazing thing that happened to me was getting married to this beautiful woman, and the grace and the love that she has demonstrated through me, um, coming through and living with a person that had all of that translating through me,
Mhm.
right? And so we'll get into that, but that's,
Mm.
from my perspective, a foundation of the start of our marriage. Like, she didn't know what she didn't know,
Mhm.
and then it began.
What do you
Yeah,
guys?
it's true. When we met, we were 18, and so
Wow.
um and we had very different childhoods. Chris had 6 stepfathers, moved constantly, and my parents were together. I lived in the same house my entire life.
Wow.
And so coming together, and his brother had committed suicide just a few years, 2 years prior. So he hadn't even begun
Mm.
to heal.
Mhm.
So going from that to where we are now, we've gone through a lot of healing. It's
Mhm.
taken
I
a
bet.
lot of work, and there's
Mhm.
been a lot of ups and downs and along the way. So next level love.
Mhm.
We're here to go to the next level
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
so
continuously.
what does that mean to you to, because there's always a next level to go to, 100%.
Right.
But you've clearly gone through
A
some
lot of
levels.
Yeah.
And so, like, what makes your relationship feel really, like, special to you? What is it about the connection and the relationship that you two have that helps you know, like, we have something here. We've figured something out. Like, we've got something really special.
Did you want me to start answering that, or did we decide that
You
you were
you
going to
can go
answer
ahead. No, you were
that?
gonna start.
Okay. I think we decided beforehand that I was going to start.
You can
Okay.
start.
So always check in with your spouse, with your significant
I'm gonna take
other,
a sip of tea.
to make sure that the plan you think that is the plan is really the plan.
That's a
So
solid advice.
I'll take that. I'll take that first question. What makes our relationship a next level love, um, is radical responsibility.
This is one of my favorite
Yeah.
grouping of words.
And
Yep.
and it's been an evolution. There's been levels, right, of taking radical responsibility, right? And
Mhm.
from where we're at today, that has been foundational to the success of our marriage, and being able to weather the storms, and ride this roller coaster that is a relationship,
Mhm.
and taking complete 100% responsibility for myself first,
Mhm.
um, and then relating to the relationship, relating to my significant other.
Yeah, it's for years, I can say that I actually thought he was the problem. A
That's
long
definitely
time.
where we started.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I
It's easy.
I think that so much more of the healing that has taken place has actually been when I finally took responsibility as well.
Mhm.
So it really has come in ebbs and flows of our growth. We've always been committed to personal growth
Yeah.
as individuals, but the awareness that came through, oh, this is my fault. This is how I'm looking at it. These are my beliefs. Um, this is the lens that I have put on our relationship.
Mhm.
And this is why I'm suffering
Mhm.
because of my belief around this. So,
Yeah, that's really interesting. Can I add a little bit to that?
mhm.
This idea that we came to this union, this relationship, with very different backgrounds, somewhat naive in that we didn't know what we didn't know, right, about each other, right?
Mhm.
And Shelly didn't know the level of, of pain and suffering that I was still experiencing, and that was
Mhm.
still translating through me,
Mhm.
right? And and so, we each came with our own challenges and dysfunctions. And from what's interesting, kind of in hindsight, is seeing how we our dysfunction attracted the other's dysfunction.
Mhm.
It's almost like a reflection. It's the perfect dysfunction to support my dysfunction. Right. And so the way that I take radical responsibility for that is I don't blame her for her dysfunction. I blame myself for calling in a partner to support my dysfunction. That's radical responsibility for me.
Mhm. Well, and it makes me think, Chris, one of our like core beliefs is that there are no problems, right? That all problems are actually gifts, resources, and opportunities.
Mhm.
And that our relationship is divinely designed to support us in the growth and the
Mhm.
healing that our souls need,
Mhm.
right? And so like you talk about blame, but I would tweak that word a little bit and be like, just I take responsibility. I
Yep.
recognize that I called in someone who was going to activate my dysfunction in such a way that I had to
That's right.
face it differently. I
Thank
gave
you.
myself
Yeah.
that gift.
Yes.
Shelly gave me that gift. There's no blame here. There's just a recognition of the beautiful perfection of the two of us coming together in our dysfunction and
Yeah.
mirroring one another so that we can see ourselves and heal and grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for reframing that. It's also a critical piece. Again, looking back, right?
Mhm.
Um, that was part of the evolution, is the awareness that there are no problems, right?
Yeah.
And that calling in this dysfunction to mirror and translate my own dysfunction was not a problem. It's
Mhm.
divinely guided,
Yeah.
right? I can see that. I can see that now, and definitely part of the growth and the evolution
Mhm.
of um, taking full responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's harder to see when you're in it, to be sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shelly, you were talking a little bit when you were talking about the radical responsibility that you were taking. You mentioned the lens that you're carrying as you see your relationship, and you talked about the beliefs that you were having. And we also, not surprisingly, in our work, speak with couples about their expectations, their beliefs, the lenses through which they are filtering their experiences of the relationship, and that in fact, when we can take
Pay attention.
responsibility for those and intentionally shift them, it
Mhm.
can kind of change everything. Can you speak a little bit more about like what you noticed having to shift and take responsibility for in those lenses, in those beliefs? Like, can you give an example of what shifted for you um, in that responsibility and that awareness?
Yeah, I think the number one thing for me was to really look at my self-worth
Mm.
and expecting, I don't know, I guess I wanted validation.
Mhm.
That was a big part of from a man,
Mhm.
make me
Mhm.
feel enough.
Yeah.
And learning how to, it was a process too. It wasn't, I wasn't even
Sure.
aware actually that
Mm.
I had that problem for
Mm.
a long, long time, many like
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
I had bits and pieces of it that were there.
Mhm.
Like I knew that his behaviors weren't about me. I had that
Mhm.
understanding. A wise woman shared that with me
Yeah.
years ago.
That's a
I
really important and
that,
helpful one.
but I stayed stuck in that frustration, And I actually built a whole identity around
Mm.
kind of a martyr identity. Like,
Mhm.
oh, if I forgive him, like that makes me doing something good, like the good girl, the good girl.
Mhm.
If I do what's forgive and be full of grace, but at the expense of not creating that own the self-love and self-worth for myself,
Mhm.
because I really wasn't in touch with that. So
Mhm. Yeah. So it sounds like when you were holding that lens of I'm not worthy, non-consciously, of course, and that you were looking to Chris to get evidence of your worth, to
Mhm.
feel worthy, and when he didn't do that, then he was the problem.
Mhm. He
And
had the
when
power to
and
influence how you're feeling.
yep, and so when you started like shifting your own self-worth
mhm.
and taking that responsibility to make you feel enough off of Chris and like just doing that healing yourself, how did that change things for how you felt about Chris?
I had more compassion for sure.
Mhm.
Had more. Really, what happened though was um, the mind body spirit connection, I call it, because my mind then connected with my spirit around my self-worth. My
Mm.
self-worth wasn't determined by that.
Mhm.
Um, and then feeling safety in my body
Mhm.
around trusting myself, learning how to tune in and trust my instincts.
Mhm.
The spiritual abuse and the rape that I had experienced, and I think growing up in just a really chaotic home.
Sure.
Um, my body had, I was just in a constant state of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. My two
Mhm.
primary were freeze and fawn,
Mhm.
which were perfect for our relationship
Yeah,
for
for my
years.
dysfunction, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
very much supportive of my warrior.
yeah,
Yeah.
My
You were the fighter.
yeah, I was the
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's me. I'm
yeah.
I'm the fighter.
yeah.
He's the freeze and flighter.
Mhm.
It's interesting, right? Like that's usually the pairing. That's the most common pairing in couples where one person is the fighter and one person freezes or withdraws.
Yeah.
And so you were able to like heal that mind body spirit connection
Mhm.
and move your body out of the survival self-protective state.
Yeah, it's been, it's interesting because for 20 plus years, I was in this church where I experienced a lot of spiritual abuse and
Mhm.
outsourced my power.
Mm.
Mhm.
I looked outside of myself and I wanted other people to tell me things were okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wanted that. I thought if I followed the rules, I was very black and white in my thinking around our around love and commitment. And, it wasn't really until I actually gave myself permission to feel the things
Mm.
that needed to come up and be felt.
Mhm.
The anger, the frustration, which wasn't really about him. It was about me
Mhm.
because I hadn't dealt with it. So when I say the mind body spirit connection, I mean it is all connected, right? So there's been
100%.
lots of tools that have been helpful along the way through finding my sovereignty, learning how to actually stop and feel what's going on inside of myself.
Yeah.
Those are all, through plant medicine. Cold plunging has been fantastic for me to just
Mm.
actually have an awareness of what I'm feeling in my body. So now that when we're interacting, I am sovereign. I feel present. I feel safe because I've done that for myself.
That's beautiful.
And that's like this is I'm just condensing this all in like
Yeah. Of course.
it's been a long process, but
but I think that really encapsulates, the theme of taking radical individual responsibility. Um,
Mhm.
and as we, took responsibility for ourselves, we became our next level self.
Yes.
And as we
Yeah.
became our next level self, we became our next level couple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
We're done.
You are preaching what we're teaching, my friends. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Do you want to jump in with the next question?
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, I feel like we have to just stop there.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
stop there.
Well,
There's more. I want more.
No,
More and more.
I do want to ask you all, because like you have 25 years of success, of hardships, of celebration, and
Mhm.
everything in between, right? Just a rich
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
What advice, what words of wisdom would you also like to drop in this space?
Yeah.
About like what's helped you get to this place?
I'll kick this one off, and so I'll give you the science, and Shelly can give the art.
Love it.
Yeah. So what we found is that for next level love, for getting to the next level, um, it requires emotional awareness,
Mm.
emotional intelligence,
Yes.
and a whole lot of resilience.
Yeah.
Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, right?
Damn, Skippy.
So, and so there was this evolution as we invested in ourselves individually, committed to personal growth and development for our own personal evolution. Certainly for me, and the traumatic, tragic childhood that I had. I mean, I spent a considerable amount of time, in traditional therapy, even medications. I've done a lot of personal development, and through that journey, I've become aware of my emotions and the power of emotions. There's an author, and I wish I could remember his name, but he talks about 7 or 8 primary emotions, but then there's these subcategories, and there's like 30,000 different emotions, right? And at first, I think, wow, that's super overwhelming. How am I ever going to become aware and intelligent around 30,000 emotions? And I go, well, man, just look how rich a life is ahead of us, to just continually, discover and grow and become more and more aware emotionally, right? And then the intelligence piece is, all the tools and the technologies and the frameworks and methodologies and the practices, that we've learned and implemented individually and in our relationship to be able to wield those emotions, right, in appropriate generative ways as an individual and in our relationship. I mean, we got in a fight, like an argument, before getting on here, like 30 minutes, and we're trying to prep, and we're going through the questions, and we're just not syncing up. Like, I'm more the science and Shelly's more the art, and we're critical of each other, and emotions start to flare. And, the first year of our marriage, shit, that would have put me in a tailspin for like 2 weeks. I mean, I'd have a hard time talking to her for a couple days, right? And
It's real.
but that's real life. That's the pain, and we didn't have to continue to suffer over it and mope and groan and call you guys up and cancel the talk.
Thank you.
We used our awareness and our emotional intelligence and the tools and the technologies to shift into a more generative state of being and emotion, right? And so that's the that's the science. The piece of advice there is, get some help. put in the time,
Yeah.
learn, develop
Mm.
yourself, right? We have 30,000 emotions to work with. It's a rich, beautiful opportunity
Mm.
to experience all of that in its richness together.
Yeah.
Which it takes work.
Yeah. I really appreciate you saying that, Chris, and I'll let Shelly jump in too. But we don't we think we should be able to do that, to do it alone, right? To to get better, to be good in relationships. If we find the right partner, right? It should just like work. But like just like you all, we like had this knowing we found the right partner, but it didn't work because again, divine design. I think that when you find the right partner, you're going to be challenged to have to grow. And nobody does it alone. Like Cal and I would talk about how we kind of figured out, we cracked the code for our relationship, but we wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't gone through all of the schooling that I had, if I hadn't been talking to the people that I was talking to, if Cal hadn't had the mentors in his life that he had. And it accelerates the journey when you
Yeah, it does.
when you intentionally seek mentorship and support or learning and growth opportunities.
It's the commitment to the growth.
Right. That you
Right.
make that a part of
who you are.
And it accelerates everything. And you just level up so much faster and so much higher over the course of your life, because you're not trying to figure it all out on your own. And you don't have to.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautifully said.
Amen, sister.
Amen. The last thing, I'll hand it over to Shelly for her artistic response, creative response. But on the community, I love the proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, if you want to have a relationship that endures for 35 plus years, go with a tribe. Get some help. And the other nuance for me to that, I think is important, is to because Shelly and I both experienced religious abuse, and again, it was exactly what the universe was mirroring back. That was the turmoil within us, because that was our dysfunction, outsourcing our sovereignty. Right. I joined the military. You talk about outsourcing sovereignty. From day one, they tell you, soldier, you're government property. You belong to us. Your butt belongs to us now.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And even outsourcing my lover, my emotions. You don't have time to cry. You're a soldier. Soldier up, and you can't have a say. It's not yours to ask why, but to do or die, soldier. So outsourcing those parts of myself. But that's what I was on the inside. I had already outsourced those, so they just mimic. And so in getting help from a community, from coaches, from spiritual, it's really important to really embrace your sovereignty.
Yes.
And know, even before getting help, that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You have all of the genius, the intelligence inside of you already. You said it earlier, Jenny. It's only that right now, because you're in it, you're in the frame, you can't see the whole picture, right? So we just need some nudges to help us rediscover our sovereignty, our power, our agency.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Like, whoo. Oh, love it. What would you add, Shelly?
The creative mind. I'm way more woo in how I articulate.
No, come on.
Please, we love woo.
Bring the woo.
So I hope it makes sense. I view everything through a lens of energy, because everything is energy. And so I view our relationship as that we are weaving our energies.
Yeah.
And when I look at my own energy, and when I am not connected to source,
Mhm.
to my higher power, however you frame it,
Mhm.
then I cannot be filled up to give. I have to first put on my own oxygen mask, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
And so my self-love and my self-care and all of that, all of my internal healing is going to flow out from here.
Mhm.
And it goes, for every relationship, whether it's my relationship with my children as a mother,
Yep.
your spouse, but your partnership, if you decide to be in partnership with someone, and it is an ongoing decision, right?
Yeah. Not just
Commit
when you make one.
over and over and over to the process.
Mhm.
The process of love. Love is a verb, right? So that flow of energy, to keep that energy flowing between the two of us and where we're weaving, we have to keep that self-love going. And not in a narcissistic way, but in that it's truly coming to give,
Mhm.
And so my new religion is, am I coming from a place of love? Because I'm either expanding or I'm contracting. So the expansion of love, to give and receive, to expand, that to me, that's the higher love.
Mhm.
Am I continually expanding? Am I continually growing? The contraction, like, so we're going to do plant medicine here soon. And I think, oh gosh, I'm afraid to do it. I don't love to do it because I never know what to expect. However, it's a new spiritual practice that I've chosen to embrace because I just don't want to embody any fear
Mhm.
in my body. And it's so, yeah, that's kind of woo. I mean, I don't know if people have their different ways of facing their fear, right? That's the spiritual part of it for me. And then, of course, cleaning out limiting beliefs, uh,
Mhm.
because I desire to have an expansive relationship.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the woo part.
Mhm. Beautiful.
We love it.
My
And it,
woo
but
child, my woo babe, my woo babe. I'm gonna. It's
Beautiful.
gonna be her new nickname. My woo babe.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
But like even from for anyone watching who doesn't jive with woo, and we certainly do, but
Mhm.
but from a practical level, what you're speaking of is just real. Is that we don't have a lot. We can't give love. We can't do partnership well or relationship well if we're not filled up.
Mhm.
Right.
And
Yeah, you can't pour into other cups if your cup's empty.
right, and there's this
Exactly.
thing that is kind of part of the dominant discourse where relationships are concerned, right? Where like you try to find your other half. So then you've got like half person and half person,
Yeah, you're not a whole person
right?
unless you have another person.
Yeah, and so now you want your other partner to be the one who fills you up,
Mhm.
right? Who
Right.
fills that cup. And what you're describing is like coming back to that radical responsibility of recognizing I need to be a whole person. I need to
Mhm.
be fully connected. I need to be filled. And I find that fulfillment with my connection to higher power. But I need to choose to do that so that I have the energy that can like weave with Christopher's
Mhm.
and not be like broken threads or or not an ongoing loom, so to speak, in that metaphor. And that's it makes me think too of this part of the work that we do with couples, which is reminding them and supporting them in paying attention to their state of being.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like if you're in those primal states, if you're in fear,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to be in love. You're not going to be able to choose to do love,
If
and
Yeah.
that requires
It,
the practice to be able
it,
to get there and knowing what you need to be able to connect to those higher states.
Jenny, I have to. I just want to jump in with some more science. It's so relevant to what you're talking about, and you know, just supports my woo babe here and her woo-ness. And did you know that when we're in fight or flight, there's a neurochemical cortisol, right,
Mhm.
that washes over us.
Mhm.
And did you know that cortisol is contagious?
No.
Yes. So if
Fascinating.
you're next to another person who is in fight or flight, um, your body will actually communicate and pick up on that and start producing cortisol yourself,
I believe that.
I mean, from an
right?
evolutionary
I
perspective,
feel
that
that.
makes so much
I feel
sense
validated.
for survival,
Thank you for
but
sharing
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
Feel validated.
experimentally,
I love that,
yeah.
Kelly.
yeah,
So,
we've
so I
definitely
love
got that.
I
Yeah.
love your work and
Yeah.
with your clients and bringing awareness to their emotional state, right?
Mhm.
And if you want to have an amazing, next level love, again,
Mhm.
understand what cortisol, first of all, does to your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when it remains in your body, when it's there in an inappropriate way at an inappropriate time and it doesn't get metabolized, it's
Mhm.
toxic and it causes disease.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
same thing is true if you show up in your relationship with your significant other and you have cortisol, unregulated cortisol in your body, you are bringing into your relationship and literally into the body of your significant other
Mhm.
toxin and disease. Crazy,
Wow.
but science. It's
Yeah.
nothing woo about it, right? It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that because that is really powerful
Mhm.
awareness. And that reminds me too, like, of just how much we don't know, and we don't know that we don't know, but the human experience on a mind, body, and spiritual level
Yeah.
is so magical and
Mhm.
big, and there's so
Yeah.
many layers to discover, and
yeah,
this is it,
And
like
like, why wouldn't we? We're animals. Like I imagine
Yeah.
all other animals have this ability to communicate in this way. You look at those
right.
fish who like swim in these huge groups and somehow they're like an organism. Like, how are they
Yeah.
doing that? I
right.
imagine it's just weird.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And whether
It's beautiful. It really is.
Evolutionary advantage.
it and it
Yeah.
well, it just but what it reminds me of also is that commitment to continue to learn,
Yeah.
right? Because we didn't I know about cortisol being released when we're in fight or flight.
For sure.
Did I know that it was contagious? No. Does that change my relationship with stress in my own body, my commitment to managing that stress, my awareness of how I might be impacting my partner, my children, and thus my sense of responsibility for doing something about that before I'm engaging in those relationships?
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
That,
Mhm.
like, that one little nugget
Mhm.
is so empowering and motivating and is gonna bring us,
Mhm.
to our a new level, a next
Let's not
level for
yeah,
us.
let's not get that on each other.
Yeah, let's
yeah,
keep that up.
take your
Go do
cortisol
something
somewhere
with
else.
that. I don't wanna
Take
hit
it
my
outside
body.
the camp, sister.
You're getting your stuff on me. Get out of here.
That's toxic,
I
Cal.
agree.
I smell cortisol. Ooh.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
pheromone I want.
No.
Oh my goodness. Love
Oh,
it.
so good.
Yeah. I feel like I'm like chomping at the bit because I see Shelly wanted to make sure she had the questions listed out that you're going to ask. And I'm like dying to jump into the
Go
last
for it.
one of these last questions, but I'll
Yeah.
follow your lead.
Nah,
Well,
I
go for it.
mean, we're just we're
We're riffing.
meandering.
We're
We're
riffing.
not,
We're meandering.
where do you wanna go? What do you wanna talk about, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, I think this cortisol thing is a great segue into like what are we doing to keep leveling up, right? Like
Mhm.
um, when I looked at that question, I thought, well, okay, first of all, there's no destination. It's
Yep.
not leveling up is not a destination. It's
Nope.
a journey,
Yep.
and in this 3D world, as long as there's oxygen and breath of life in this vessel, right? I will continually be discovering new ways to level up. This cortisol thing was one of those ways, right? Just because we don't know it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, and doesn't mean that it's having a tremendous impact
100%.
on us in our relationship. So
Mhm.
I'm curious. So that's one theme, is like to continue to level up, just continue to be curious.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love that word.
Just be really curious. I'm like, wow, how much better can this get? You know? And yeah, and so we do practically, Shelly mentioned the cold plunging, right? Again, from the neurochemical perspective, it regulates, it helps to downregulate that cortisol. It
Mm.
actually, once you get beyond the initial shock, that you have to develop the ability to control your nervous system, right? To
Mhm.
not go into shock. So you're
Mhm.
developing the ability to handle challenging situations. Shelly's so much better at it than me. I still squeal like a little girl, and and we have this, yeah, and I walked into the bathroom. We have this like we turned our garden tub into a cold plunge, and I got a big chiller there. And I walked into the bathroom today, and I couldn't find Shelly anywhere in the house, and I'm standing there in front of the mirror, and then I walked out, and then I walked back in. I'm like, oh, she's in the cold plunge, but she's so quiet, and she's so calm and so relaxed. I'm squealing like a little pig. Point is, it helps to regulate our neurochemistry. It helps
Mhm.
with our mood. So if we're in a better mood, we're gonna relate better. It improves our sleep. It improves our recovery from exercise. It helps to burn brown fat, which I love at 55 years old and starting to see this middle stuff. So yeah, so those are some great benefits. What do you got, babe?
Oh, I just was thinking about, as a woman, every stage of life. We've been together now for going on 4 decades,
Amazing.
and we're now in our 50s or pushing 60.
Push it.
So,
I'm
as a woman going through menopause, actually, I'm postmenopausal. I'm not the first to say this, but the doctors don't know what the fuck they're doing. Honestly, they don't talk about it. Like they
Shocking.
throw medications at us, and
Mm.
even women don't really have the conversation. So, of course, I mean that's something that, as a recently sovereign woman, last several years, I'm like, oh, well, listening to myself, and this is affecting our relationship.
Mhm.
This is another thing that is affecting our relationship as we're getting older. Okay, how are we going to navigate this? And, so continually taking ownership of, this is my issue. I don't want to blame him. I need to figure this shit out. And I've had to like do my research. So there's lots of different things that are going to happen. Feels like it's happening to me. I know it's for me.
Mhm.
But there's just, our children go through things. We have to constantly be learning and growing and being willing to figure stuff out and taking the time. So anyway, there's lots of different. That's the whole mind, body, spirit stuff, though. I mean, it affects your sex, it affects your mood, your everything.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Well, what I'm really hearing again is that radical responsibility
Mhm.
paired with the commitment to
Mhm.
keep learning and growing.
yeah,
Right? Like it's not just I want to keep learning and growing, but it's like, and I'm responsible for figuring out how to do that, for finding the help, for finding the resources, for being curious and asking the questions, and right, and going into self-awareness
Mhm.
and taking care of my body. That's my responsibility. Um and there's this beautiful recognition you both have and are sharing, that like when you do that for yourself, you're supporting your partner in doing that for themselves. You're supporting the relationship that you have. You're supporting the relationship that you have with your kids.
Mhm.
You're, like it clearly benefits all other aspects of your life. And
Yeah, and going back to the
that's so
energy
beautiful.
part,
Mhm.
yeah, if there's bound up energy because I'm afraid or something's not working well in an area of my life,
Mhm.
then it affects every other area.
Mhm.
So I really want to address all aspects of the mind body spirit connection.
Yeah.
You know, what am I eating? What am I, because it affects my mental health. It affects everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think having more compassion for myself through that journey, because has been really frustrating
Mhm.
for some things in different time periods. Menopause has been a big frustration for me. Yeah, having more compassion for myself has helped me to have more compassion for him as well.
Yes.
Yeah, giving yourself the love
Mhm.
first. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
good.
that is another relationship we're in, and
Mm.
it's
The most important one, actually.
like
Turns out.
the better that we do at like healing and caring for this relationship we have with ourselves, the better we're going to be able to do in our relationships with our partners and anybody else. 100%.
True that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, guys, this has been amazing,
Mhm.
and
So many gold nuggets dropped.
like so good, so inspiring, so energizing.
Mhm.
And we just want to thank you so much. How can you share a little bit about what you're doing in the world and how people can connect with you, learn more about you, for anybody who's like feeling the transformative power that this power couple bring to the table, because they sure do.
Mhm.
I want them to know exactly where they can go to get more information and connect with you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking. And for anybody that to start with that just wants to learn more, get some more background on us, go to our website www.christopherchamberlain.com
I'll put that
and
in the chat.
yeah, and christopherchamberlain.com and yeah, I mean, you can write from there. You can book a 15-minute discovery call. It really it starts with a conversation, right? It's just we're humble people, Nothing. Uh, I've been through enough that nothing surprises me, and there's no judgment, right? We just man, we want to equip people. Um, we want to hold their hand and walk them back home, home to their sovereignty, to their spirit, to their soul, and to all of the intelligence and power that's within them. So it just starts with a conversation, a 15-minute non-judgmental conversation, and we just show up to serve. There's right, and then we did want to mention that in October 11th through the 13th, we have a really special, unique opportunity coming up. We're hosting a couples retreat, and we only have a position. We only have one position left, and we're going to be interviewing couples for that. It'll be a very nourishing, relaxing, transformative experience, and we're gonna pull back the curtain on everything that we've talked about on this show, and then some. So
Nice.
you'll
This
get
is just
some
an overview.
You'll get some science from me. You'll get some woo from Shelly, but you get a whole lot of just transparency and transformation.
That's amazing. You said October 11th through 13th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, if that resonates, if that's interesting to anybody, it starts with that 15-minute call.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. Well, thank you so much. We are just so honored and delighted that you shared your time and your hearts and your energies
Your story
with us, with everybody whose lives we probably don't even know are going to be touched by this.
Mhm.
Hope
What a
so.
gift to the world.
Yeah.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to thank you guys
Yeah.
for creating such a safe space
Mhm.
for us to even share and for the work that you guys are doing.
Thank
It's
you.
truly beautiful. I love to follow your journey and all of your posts. I always learn so much.
Oh, we
And I
appreciate
know
it.
that your union and the wisdom that you're bringing into the world is radically helping people. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
thank you. We feel honored getting to be and
Aw.
share this space with you. So
Absolutely.
Love it.
Appreciate
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap. And thanks everybody who tuned in and for taking the time for yourselves to learn and grow and expand. Because if you are here watching this, you are walking away at a different level.
Yeah.
100%. There's no way you're not.
Absolutely.